It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show. Hey, they thinking I'm triggered, you better pull it. I'm the last dragon, first nigga to bite the bullet. I'm one of the illest to pursue this. Niggas is foolish to play with me, but I'm sticking to it. You gotta check for the publishing. I might need a Pulitzer. All the Jekyll and Hyde's flipping, these people are puzzling. They come from my perspective. The love is so humble and disagreeing. They attack you. They wish they could muzzle them. Got respect for the miles. Wrist chili, I covered it. Took a covenant. Promised to get this cheese. No assistance from the government. Suffering in this city just enough to get by. Now I laugh at my struggle similar to Kawhi. Money and murder, we know that it's sanctioned. I only trust Benjamin Franklin. I feel like I'm Langston with a hue opposite of my sanctum. All these rap niggas, y'all stand, I lyrically spank them. Top of the morning for me. If I was single, I asked for a date with Glorilla Speedy. That's pretty moment of me. My tempo finger meaning nobody scoring on me. The last second I'm pulling like Robert Rory, homie, please. Everything I spend to appease. I've been the best since Pinstripe Lees. I've been the beast since franchise snapping in them big white tees. I'm feeling blessed and I ain't even sneeze, so grip these, nigga. I'm a creator, no Tyler. Pull heat from the hip, make them shake like Tyler. That's a double entendre. The boy got a glow like a 9 to all these brands on the nigga. You would think I was sponsored. Shout, it might need a podcast. Feedback on the mic like a fucked up broadcast. These birds ran through, gotta look up the Carfax. Realist in 4K, gotta step up your format, nigga. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Now, before we get into the subject matter in this video, I want to go ahead and give a big shout out to Elliott Wilson. Y'all know I reacted to his J. Cole take the other day about the fall off and all of that good stuff, and basically kind of gave my perspective as to why, you know, people are a little bit hesitant to give Elliott Wilson access in the industry these days, the same access that he's had over the years. But nonetheless, he shared my video on his social media, so I want to give a shout out to him because despite the fact that I'm, you know, offering a counter to his takes and some of the things that he says, he still continues to support my content and post it on social media, which I greatly appreciate. So we're going to put this on the screen real quick. That's not even the right one. This one here. Okay. This is Elliott Wilson posting a clip from my video. You see me in the corner there, and I sent the shout right back to him. I said, salute to Elliott, supported my work this past year, because since around the end of the Kendrick Drake battle is when he kind of got acclimated to my channel. I said, even when I critique some of his takes, hopefully we'll get to chop it up at some point. I'm still a student in this space, okay? Now, just because I disagree with Mr. Elliott Wilson does not mean I can't learn from him. He has been a established journalist for over 30 years, editor-in-chief at XXL. He was XXL for a very long time during its heyday, at its height, when I actually used to buy and spend money on those magazines. He was the man running that ship, so I will always have respect for that, as long as he doesn't, you know, go off on some Kanye-ish type stuff. You feel me? And that's neither here nor there. Also, I want to say, for those of y'all that are informing me or whatever about the Joe Cat situation and him being denied by the judge to be an expert witness with his amicus brief in the Drake UMG situation, I do know that was denied. I saw APSA going live about it yesterday. I've elected to not do another video talking about it. I think I have 2 or 3 videos talking about Joe Cat. I don't want to make another one. I don't want to drag it out. I don't want to drag him personally, because he's not my enemy. Although he came over here and did some weirdo shit, and you know, that's stuff that he's gonna have to live with and work out within his own self and his emotions. I'm not here to make an enemy out of a person. Just stay where you at. I'm gonna stay where I'm at. But I did notice that. I did see that. I was not surprised by that. I saw that the judge didn't feel like his entries were actually relevant to the case, so they got tossed. Okay? Shout out to him. I wish him all the best in all of his endeavors. Just don't bring yourself over here. This nigga was even trying to tag me over the weekend, talking about I was exposing myself and all this other stuff. He wanted to go back and forth on Twitter. Shit made no sense. But again, I'm not going to make an entire video talking about him. It's not that important, okay? Now, let's get into the subject matter of this video. We're going to be talking about Rory and Mal, and I know a lot of y'all don't fuck with them, but they have a video out in which they talk about the lack of superstars in hip hop. I think this is a pretty interesting conversation and pretty much a cautionary conversation as it pertains to hip hop, the direction that it's going, and kind of the underground nature in which a lot of the talent, the more skilled um, people in this space, as far as artists are concerned, I think we're gonna have to start accepting that just because an artist is not a mainstream staple, doesn't have the records going all crazy on the top 200, not dropping number one singles, all of this stuff. If the artist is good, if the music is good, if what they produce floats your boat, we got to find ways to rally around those types of artists, right? So that they can rise. I talked about this the other day in the Megan Thee Stallion Coachella video as well. The stan wars. The thing about the stands is, let's be clear, if you're not that main artist, or if you're not like affiliated in some way where y'all eat at fucking dinner or get spotted together at a shoe store, like a lot of times, unless you're one of those affiliated acts, the stand club is not really gonna fuck with you, right? Only time you're gonna get attention is when you're talking about that main objective, that main artist that everybody is rallying behind, and you're gonna get, received on that right or left, depending on your affiliation to the situation. If you say something that people perceive as bad, they don't fuck with you. If you praise them, they fuck with you. And if that happens to switch and flip flop too much, they not gonna fuck with you no way. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we still need emphasis on the music, the craftsmanship, the work, the real life studio shit. Because everybody has access to a studio. Some days I wish that fucking computers and microphones and mixers and all of this stuff were not as affordable as they currently are. You know what I'm saying? Which I gotta say is even hypocritical in my situation, because I am an independent artist, what some would identify as a bedroom artist, because I record out of this mini studio here in my home. But I put a lot of work into my craft before I ever had this home set up. You know what I'm saying? And even when I was going to my homies' cribs who had the home setups, them niggas used to bust their ass and get fucking equipment out of magazines and catalogs and shit in order for us to have access to those things. So, but I think a lot of people miss out on that grind. A lot of people miss out on like the intentionality of creating music and like the actual connection that music is supposed to have with you. And I feel like the genre suffers for it, right? So Rory and Mal had this conversation basically stating that they believe that this generation of rappers is mostly mid. And I mostly agree, right? And again, it's because of the accessibility, the TikTokification of music, the Instagram likes, the instant gratification that comes into this, but not actual craftsmanship being fostered. So let me go ahead and pull up their video so that they could give their perspective of the situation, and I'll chime in when necessary, okay?
Hey, Pod, I want to thank you guys for the content each week. I always enjoy tapping in with y'all. So I wish this could be a conversation I could have with y'all, but I want to talk about the latest generation of hip hop artists, specifically the ones that come after the Travis Scott and Young Thug class, who are also on a mainstream level. I feel like we've seen a lot of promising artists at one point or another from this latest generation. They've had a hot song or a hot moment, but we haven't really seen anyone go on a 3 or 5 year run, in that amount of time. And so I'm talking about the artists like Roddy Ricch, The Baby, Lil Baby, Lil TJ, Young Blue, Polo G, Young Moneybag Yo, Saweetie, 42 Doug, Lil Tecca, Fabio, a lot of those guys. And I think there's another group like Kodak Black, Lil Uzi, Yachty, and Jack Harlow, where they've had mainstream success. They're still putting out music. They're still active. They're not really kind of competing at that upper echelon level. And I think that speaks to like a larger thing where we don't really see any of these artists wanting that top spot. No one is really going for the throne as previous generations had. I think there are artists who have shown like a lot of staying power, like 21 Savage, Meg, Lotto, Glorilla, and Doja. And I think in several more years, if they continue their trajectory, they'll definitely be cemented for their era. But just want to have a conversation with y'all, what you think. It's been hard for like a lot of these artists to kind of
I mean, I don't know, we've been having this conversation, I feel like, for years. I'll humbly say, I think I was the first podcaster to bring this up. Well, as much as I like Lil Baby, everyone was like, he's the next one. We have not seen a rap superstar since Drake, Kendrick Cole. We've had great artists, but they've never even remotely come close to the superstar role the way those guys have. I mean, I think Future, Nicki, Travis, all great examples, but
I gotta chime in here. Yeah, you said Travis. Let's not forget ASAP Rocky has still been in that space. I think he's taken a down slope in the last let's say 7 years or so. But ASAP definitely had a good run. I think he had longer than a 3 year run for sure. Sold records, had massive singles, has a massive fan base that shows up when he tours and all that type of stuff. So I think he should be in the category. I don't think he's necessarily in the same category as the Kendrick Drake Cole conversation, but I think he was always a close one. I think the Big Seans of the world, the Wale's of the world, these are artists that for whatever reason the public just didn't invest all the way into, whether that be character flaws, whether that be um, mental health breaks at the height of their career, or whatever it may be, where they don't have the same rope to come back as that so-called big three. But there was definitely names, right? You gotta still give Nicki Minaj her credit for being within that time frame of the last, was it's 2025 now, so last 15 years. She was her and Drake are basically same class, and I think sometimes because she's actually a few years older than Drake, she gets looked upon as if she's more tenured than he is. But if you look up their actual histories, like before the fame, I think they started becoming relevant online, dropping like little tapes and being in the underground ish scene around the same time. But for whatever reason, they get looked upon like they're two different generations, right? I'll let them continue though.
this new generation, there's no star. There isn't. There just simply is not a new star.
Playboy Cardi.
But we know why though.
And I don't
Like
even like
we've
his
had
shit.
this talk years ago, and I told you years ago, it's easier for artists or for somebody to get into the industry now because all you need is a record that'll go viral, take off, and then all of a sudden the industry is gonna, or the labels are gonna put money behind this person who's not even a real artist who just caught a record and is not ready for that type of responsibility of upholding a certain ethic of music and culture.
Also, I think you got to put a little bit more weight on Megan's name. You got to put more weight on Cardi B's name, regardless of what she did or didn't write. She's never claimed to be the best lyricist in the game. So I think they also have to be taken into consideration for that field of new stars. You can't take them out.
Culture and things like that. That's not what they're in it for.
And
They're
Doja.
just trying to get out of their mom's basement and pay some bills.
I think that happens, but to this gentleman's point, like, I think Uzi has put in his 1,000 hours. As much as like Uzi isn't always my type of vibe, like I would never think Uzi was just some artist that happened to just get on and like had one viral moment. He's been here and impacted the culture through his art. Like he's a real artist, even if it's not my type of shit. I can respect what Uzi is doing and understand that it hasn't strayed that far away from real artist integrity. Like,
Yeah, but somebody
there's a bunch of people that just get on for a fucking week and it's like you had one song, whatever. But he named people at 21, Meg, Lotto, Kodak, like all have great catalogs and are real artists down to their core. They're just not superstars. I don't know if that's just a reflection of how consumers get music. There's just so many options. And, it's not like when it was radio where we were listening to these 7 songs every day, no matter what.
I think we have too much access to these motherfuckers. I think that social media antics have killed or hindered a lot of people. Lotto comes to mind when I think of Lotto's hype, when I think of Lotto's talent, when I think of Lotto's come up. I feel like she's put all her time, her hours in, but within the last, I say 3 years, as she's ascended, I feel like she's also had a lot of scrutiny about, this phantom boyfriend that she always does interviews and raps about and is getting all of these assets out of. But people are just like, yo, like if you're not gonna share what's really going on, why talk about it? It's like you're pump faking for attention. Um, some people question the legitimacy of her Atlanta accent. There's people that just say they feel like she's inauthentic, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of that scrutiny has come in more recent times as she's tried to portray herself in a different manner on social media. I think some people are still used to Lotto from the rap game, or that time period when after she won, where she was kind of anti um, exposing her body. Like, I'll never do that. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. But I think that was also under the direction of her father, who, of course, would never want to see their child go down that road of being like this over sexualized figure. I mean, what father would? But as she pursued her own independence in terms of, coming out of the nest and being the full woman that she wants to be, I think a lot of people have been like, who is she really? And the problem with that question in this space, entertainment period, is if people have to ask, who are you really? That means that they're not invested into you. They're trying to figure out why or why shouldn't I be invested in you. And a lot of times they're going to lean towards not, because they're going to find somebody else to fill that space. And I think that's what Lotto has been facing. I also think that due to her alliance with Drake, 21 Savage, whatever that is, if he's the mystery nigga or not, that also hurt her last year, because when those collabs with Drake hit the surface and then her album is out and all of this type of stuff, then it's like, all right, is he ghostwriting? Is he helping? And of course, there's a lot of stench around Drake's name. You know what I mean? If you're able to be one of his producers, if you're one of his hanger-ons, you know what I'm saying, you kind of get benefits from the owl stands. But if you're somebody that people otherwise would have liked, but then you align yourself with the nigga that everybody or a lot of people are also wondering, where does he stand? Who is he? Or even get him the fuck out the paint, then you also inherit some of that blowback as well, which I think she absolutely did. A lot of people said they felt like her album felt like a Drake album. I don't feel that way. I disagreed with that take, but I understood some of the cadence and things and some of the melodies that people were like, maybe this is Drake inspired. I think that her melodies sounded much better than Drake in recent years, but that's just my opinion. And y'all know I fuck with her. She from around the way. I'll let them continue.
We have access to listen to whatever the fuck we want. Discovery is different now. So maybe that's why there aren't superstars, but
No, I don't. Well, maybe, but I'm more on the side of a lot of these artists. When you say superstar, I don't think people understand exactly what it takes to be a superstar. There's a certain level of consistency. There's a certain attention to detail. There's a certain commitment to getting better. To be a superstar, you have to be, all cylinders have to be moving at the same time consistently. And a lot of people just either don't care to be that consistent.
And let me just throw Tyler in the mix. I think his name often gets overlooked, but this last year has shown that Tyler is a certified star. If you want to call him superstar, star, whatever, that nigga did 300,000 first week. You know what I mean? With like a couple weeks of notice, no real single from the album, period. I think he definitely showed his star power last year.
Are not dedicated enough to getting better. There's a lot of things that I think goes into why there may not be the next, or who can we see as the next superstar. I think that we have good artists that make good songs and good albums and, put on a good show, good performance, but superstar, which is why you see somebody like a Usher who is still probably 30 years, if not more, into music, into his career, and he's still able to go on a world tour. He's still able to go sell out arenas and get residencies that sell out, and with music that he's put out over his career, because Usher has dedicated himself to a certain level of consistency.
Now, I don't think Usher's a good example in terms of hip hop because he's not a hip hop artist. But in using Usher as an example, if we were to put the same standard on like tenure in the game, starting point, that would be like the equivalent of Bow Wow. And we see how that has manifested for Bow Wow. Now, Usher and Bow Wow both are very different people, very different temperament, very different public persona. But what I'm getting at here kind of leans back into what I'm saying is somebody who comes into the game in this generation, this last 15 years, you come into the game as a preteen or a teenager, and then you're still putting out music well into your 30s, you done gave people way too much time to not like you. And this is where shit gets tricky. Because that's 20 years of, I didn't like when you did this. I didn't like when you argued with this person. I didn't like when you didn't say hey to me coming out of your tour 5 years ago, and I'm still holding a grudge against you. I didn't like that relationship that you was in. I didn't like how you treated the person that you was in a relationship with. You know what I'm saying? All of the extracurricular shit that happens on outside the music is now being held against artists, and I'm not against that being a thing. I'm just saying that it's there. It's one of those intangibles as to like why people don't fuck with people. It's like I got too much information on you in that time period. This is why Kendrick pretty much excels, because he only comes out when it's time to have a musical conversation. If it's about an album, if it's about the Super Bowl, if it's about a tour, if it's about putting somebody else on that I think is dope, he keeps it musical. Everything else we may find out about after the fact, or, we may have people that are like online investigators finding out information about what he has going on, but he does not broadcast his personal life. He does not broadcast, every fucking meal that he chooses to eat. And that gives you an extra sense of like, okay, mystique. I still fuck with you because you have not given me a reason not to. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up as well. Excuse me.
Certain level of greatness that I think a lot of people are not willing to dedicate themselves to. So it speaks more to the person and the artist as to why we may not have the next quote unquote superstar. But it's just again, I think that it's because access has been granted to too many undeserving is why we probably have a bigger pool of artists and people that were like, hey, what about this person, that person?
Now, as for the undeserving part of the conversation, this is where it should be very uncomfortable for people in the industry, such as a Rory and Mal. You know what I mean? Y'all have been on artist campaigns. Y'all worked in the industry. Y'all been a part of some shit, especially Rory. He worked as an executive in the industry at some level, think like an A&R or some shit like that. Y'all be getting behind mid niggas, right? So if you're getting behind mid niggas, then how can you condemn other mid niggas, right? And I think some people are just fun acts. I don't think everybody is supposed to be a lyrical genius or this hyper influential figure. I don't think everybody fits that mold. There is going to be a iteration of MC Hammer in every generation. There's going to be an iteration of, I don't know, De La Soul, who are just about good vibes. They may not be the most lyrical niggas ever, but they have a vibe. They have a positive outlook. Like, for whatever reason, that style is just completely trashed. Like, if you're not confrontational in hip hop today, you's a bitch. And if people look at you like you's a bitch, you's a brokey also. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a whole nother level of things that come with that. So I think we gotta transform a lot of things as people. Our expectations of people are by and large higher than the expectations we set up on ourselves or place upon ourselves or are willing to accept accountability on for ourselves. For every great artist that we fuck with, how many low vibrational artists are we championing in the meantime? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of shit that goes into this. I remember when I was like at the height of really, really pushing for a, I want to be signed. I want to be the next dude. And I had a manager at the time that was like, yo, you dope, you lyrical, you this, you that. But you need to make records like this. You ever try something like this? And they were kind of pointing to like the strip club anthems and shit like that. I'm like, that's not who I am. How could I even authentically rap about that type of stuff? You know what I mean? But that was the thing, right? Even that group of top dudes, you had Kendrick, 2 Chainz, ASAP, Drake, fucking Problems, right? That's like a strip club anthem. And Kendrick was able to like find his own groove within that. So it was like, yeah, try something like that. And at the time, I was like super rapidy rap. Y'all think I rap today? 2012, 2013 Nolan, I was literally trying to rap like Nas, like down to the fucking accent. Like, I wasn't even rapping like a nigga from the South. I wanted to be Nas and Mobb Deep at that time because that was my example of like hip hop purity. But niggas were like, dog, that's not gonna work. But I'm looking at hip hop as a whole. I'm like, well, how can it not work if it has worked? I'm glad it didn't because I wasn't being authentically myself, but I thought I was at the time. But again, it's a very tough road when people who actually love this shit, live this shit, start being asked to do things outside of what actually fits who they are, their character, their actual essence of who they are. And then there's going to be a lot of copycats and cookie cutter things that get amplified because of, oh, the labels are looking for this. The labels are looking for the next this. This is why there was a whole era of, niggas assimilating from Drakeisms and like, oh, if you don't have the melody, if you don't sing in this key, right? If your auto tune is not hitting in this key, like Future, you're not winning, right? Or hitting the key of what Wayne was doing coming off Carter 4 and shit. You know what I mean? Like there was a whole generation of niggas that just assimilated to that, but lost all of the ingredients of like Wayne being an actual rapper. They just took the cadence, the auto-tune settings, and just started saying anything. And people accepted it. So I think we're to blame as to why the superstars are not present or prevalent in the same way that they once were, because our standards have diminished because we got tired of looking for people that can uphold the standard. You know what I mean? We want it to be handed to us. We want it to be like presented in the same way of having a Rap City the Basement, having a TRL, having a fucking 106 in Park. When stuff like that went away, long gone were the days of, here's what's dope. Here's the curation of what is actually good in the game. And once we lost that curation, it became a free for all. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of reasons as to why this shit looks as disjointed as it is because that's how disjointed we are as a people, as an industry, and as a collective under the hip hop umbrella. Nobody has the same agenda, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, but in all reality, that person was never even supposed to really get on.
Facts. When are we allowed to have a conversation of maybe their music's just not that good.
That too. That's part of it. I said consistency. You have to be great consistently. You have to put out hits consistently. You have to put out great albums consistently to be considered a superstar. Every time you hit the stage, people have to be in awe. You have to get better and better every time somebody sees you. Like, it's a lot that goes into being a superstar. You have to change your entire, the way you think, the way you walk, talk, the things you believe in, like you have to change completely, evolve
your
into
DNA.
you have to change your DNA completely if you're trying to be a superstar. And a lot of people are not willing to make that type of a commitment.
And I saw Peach's eyebrows raise up. I'm not saying that about Uzi, Meg, Lotto, 21 Savage. I like all of those artists' music. I'm just saying the level of superstardom maybe doesn't match music-wise. But also, I think it's kind of cool that Uzi, even while his core fan base is not niche, obviously we've seen Uzi sell out insane venues, it's not the most palatable pop music.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of cool that these artists don't have to lean into what's going to work for everybody. And maybe that's the case now, because back then...
Man, fuck all that, man. We need to open the doors, cause we're talking hip hop. Fuck this pop shit, man. We need a DMX palette cleanse. You don't gotta look, sound, act like DMX. I'm just saying, in 98, DMX was the Jiggy palette cleanser. Right? Some niggas didn't like Ja Rule, but Ja Rule was also part of the Jiggy palette cleanser. You know what I'm saying? And there was niggas like Big Pun, Mos Def. It was an era. These niggas was literally in ciphers together, documented. Cannabis. All of these people, folks who don't necessarily get all the world of reverence as they should today, but for the next 10 years from that mark, most of those artists had good careers. Cannabis, he fucked himself up. Attitude, ego, inflation, whatever the fuck he had going on. But Big Pun, that first album, second album, craziness. You know what I'm saying? DMX, he went on about a 6-7 album run, craziness. Ja Rule got cut short. 50 put the fucking banana in the tailpipe pause. But he had like a 5 album run of like, yo, this nigga is here. And I think that's what we need, is like for people to be willing to receive like undeniable talent, get behind it, support it, put your money where your mouth is, put your attention where your eyes is. You know what I'm saying? And really get with some it may take somebody that you ain't never seen before to just pop up on the screen, and you have to be able to reach out and grab that person in that moment, because some people like Jid have those moments where it's like, this is who we're supposed to rally behind, but then the criticism comes before the love. Oh, he sounds like Kendrick. He's a little bit too much like Kendrick. I already got my Kendrick. And it's like, dog, he's a whole different nigga. He got a whole different background. He's from a whole different place. Like, yeah, they may have some commonalities between them, but he should have been a much bigger artist than what he is. But a lot of people were like, I don't know. He can rap, but I don't know. And he's given us great fucking albums along the way. But yeah, artist development, label investment. You motherfuckers are gonna have to change y'all ideology behind what makes a career. If it's about building a career, you shouldn't expect somebody to be a star in 3 months within signing the paperwork, or you gotta damn near be a star on your own off social media before we invest in you. That's fucking dumb. But push that person in the direction of what they're actually doing. Don't say, oh, we like what you've been doing, now do something completely different because we paying you. Everybody need to get their shit together. Even me, I need to get my shit together. Goddamn. But I appreciate y'all for having this conversation. It's allowed me to get a lot of shit off my goddamn chest. And I completely agree with this headline. A generation of rappers are mid. There are some anomalies. There are some outliers in the mixed. Why I say mixed? That was grammatically incorrect. But y'all get what the fuck I'm saying, man. And we gotta break out of this Kendrick and Drake battle shit in order to usher in the next thing too. Algorithmically, that's what the algorithm is feeding and thriving off of. You know what I'm saying? When I talk about other folks, it doesn't get amplified to the same degree of Kendrick and Drake. But then I get people saying, I'm tired of Kendrick and Drake. Why are we still talking about their battle? Because that's what you show up for. You know what I'm saying? Symbiotically, that's what the algorithm feeds you. Symbiotically, if you feed it with clicks and views, it only continues. So if y'all want us to actually get to a place where we can have those conversations, then we also have to be active in pursuing those conversations, fostering those conversations, and being willing to have them and push them. Like, share, comment. You know what I'm saying? Do the same shit that you would do for the Kendrick and Drake shit for others. That's all I'm saying. Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rags. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mile. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross I'm out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. When I catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.